What's up, guys? It has been way too long. I'm sorry. I'm sorry for my absence and the delay in getting this long overdue update video out to you guys. I came on my stories a couple times and promised it for like months. I'm finally getting it together for you, and so much has happened across the industry over the past like 8 months that I feel like I'm way behind. But I keep getting more and more direct messages about supply chain issues and not being able to find Rotella anywhere you go, or any diesel engine oil for that matter. So we're going to talk about it today. I'm going to do my best. Things change like crazy. Obviously, we know COVID had a huge impact on the workforce. Last year, we had so many people out of work that caused plants to shut down and things like that. So there was already a bit of a delay in getting product made and out. In addition to that, last winter around this time, it was like February, there was a major freeze in Texas that they are not used to. Things are not built to withstand the expansion and contraction that happens when something freezes and thaws. So the refineries down there took a horrible hit and had to, out of precaution, go through and replace and repair almost every single pipe on every single facility, from what I'm told. Then that just caused plants to have to be shut down. It created another big delay on top of the already existing COVID delay. So that was kind of item number two. There was a refinery fire, and there was some shutdowns for power grid issues in the state of Texas as well over the course of the summer. There was the hurricane that came through and caused some of the rigs out there to have to stop, obviously, drilling. And then those refineries that are along the coast, they have to send people home to evacuate, whatever. So there's another delay. So your PAOs, your polyalpha olefins, say that 10 times fast. Group 3 oils are, I want to say it's like 95% of them across the US for every major brand are made overseas. So your group 3s are the stuff that you and I mostly buy to put in our vehicles, into our equipment, things like that. Anything that is marketed as a conventional or a synthetic blend is usually a group 3 oil. So imagine trying to import all that product from overseas with our ports being shut down or, drastically shorthanded. So there's another delay. I heard at one point over the winter that they were saying that there are 30 loads backed up for every one truck driver. Awful. Thank you, Florida, for getting a couple of those ships in, but that's neither here nor there. The other issue we had, so there was a big grease shortage. There still is a grease shortage. There is a company called ChemTool, and they are based here in Illinois, in Chicagoland. They had their largest plant, which is just outside of Chicago, explode last spring, summer, springish. And unfortunately, that was 30 to 40% of all of North America's grease. So when that happened, there was a panic buy, and every company bought up any available grease package that was already made. So that created a huge grease shortage. And now you take your biggest manufacturer here in the US and they are just gone. I don't think they're ever going to come back. They actually had most of the contracts for a lot of the major OEMs. So the OEMs give them their formulations. They make the grease, they put the OEM's label on it, and that's that. So that's why you have your big time grease shortage. Grease is going to be interesting over the next few years anyway. We like to talk about using lithium complex greases, right? Because they are so they can be used in so many different ways, and they are pretty compatible with a lot of things. Obviously, we're using a lot more lithium these days with all the electric cars that are coming out, and so lithium, I think, is going to end up becoming a bit in short supply just in general as a material. So I do predict that greases will shift towards calcium complex, calcium sulfonates, and aluminum complex based products in the near future. But for right now, we're still using a lot of lithium, and they are very hard to get. Okay, moving on down my list. Resins. There is a major plastic resin shortage. I want to say there are only 2 plants that make them, and they are overseas. or two companies, you know, largely. I'm sure there's a lot, but there's two major companies that do most of the workload there, and they are overseas. So we have a big resin shortage, or resin reagent, and trying to get things like that to make your poly drums that your chemicals come in, your coolants, glycols, RV antifreezes, window washes, and DEF, as well as your gallon jugs, your pails, anything, your totes that are made from that plastic material are in short supply and high demand. So if you have one, if you have a poly drum or tote, you are sitting on a pile of gold at the moment. If you would like to get rid of it, please give me a jingle. Then of course we had the steel shortage, so your steel drums were hard to get for a while. So if we had product, we couldn't get anything to put the product into to get it out to the customer if it wasn't a bulk pump off. Then we had the cardboard and glue shortage. So if you were trying to get packaged, your gallon jugs, there were no boxes to put them in. Oh man, same thing for the cardboard and the plastic grease tubes that the grease goes in. Those were impossible to find as well. So if you had grease, you couldn't package it. Label shortages, that too. It's just been one thing after another. There was a 6 month, or there might still be a 6 month lead time on a lot of the filter SKUs that are out there. And then we have Europe making all of the phosphates for the anti-wear agents that are in, that have declared force majeure a lot of the time. There's a lot of companies that throughout COVID and throughout this supply chain crisis have declared force majeure, which makes things just all the more interesting. A lot of sulfonate plants have been down. 72 suppliers have now declared, 72 suppliers have now declared force majeure globally throughout the lubricants industry, one way or the other, whether that's additives, base oils, packaging, somewhere in there is what those 72 companies make up. This global situation is expected to continue through early 2023. Obviously, we have labor shortages, so if the plants are running, if you have materials, you don't have anyone to make them. And then you don't have anyone to drive the truck to transport them. As far as DEF goes, DEF is going to be a really big problem, I think, in 2022. We've already had 2 increases come through. At this point, suppliers are not even giving any notice for price increases as they happen. They're just, hey, today your price is up this much, so pass that on to your customers or take a loss. Urea shortages are supposed to get pretty bad this year, and I'm not sure the cause of that. I will try to find some more information. And as far as chemicals go, I was told that there is only about 20% of the regular supply available on the market today. And that includes your additive chemistry and things like that. So that kind of summarizes it. We're a major shell distributor. We can't get any Rotella. We haven't been able to get any for quite a few months now. Prior to that, there was a passenger car engine oil shortage. We got through that. We seem to have a good supply of that now at this point. And so we'll see if diesel oils come back sometime soon. It would be nice to be able to sell some branded product again. But for now, we have a lot of house brand. And the reason for that, house brand, I think I've explained this in another video, the difference between house brand and branded product. The reason why there's such a price difference between the two and why there is more available supply of the house brand. And that's because when you are making that house brand product, they don't have to uphold such consistency like the majors do. So someone like Shell, Chevron, Exxon, Castrol, they go out and they want to get OEM approvals. And in order to get those specs, those OEM approvals, they have to have a product, or to maintain those specs, I should say, they have to have extreme consistency from product load to product load. So that means they are only going to buy from the same base oil provider, and they are only going to buy the same chemistry from the same additive manufacturers. That way they have that absolute consistency in every batch that they make. And so they'll have, multi-year contracts with these companies to keep that consistency. Whereas the house brand supplier, they don't have that. They don't need to be as consistent because they usually don't maintain as many OEM specs and approvals. So they can kind of buy from any supplier that they want for each load. It doesn't really matter. Whoever is the cheapest bidder that day for on the market is going to get their business. And while it's still a quality product, it just does not have that consistency. Make sure if you are buying house brand, you are buying a licensed product. That pretty much summarizes it as far as the supply chain issues. Pricing, we had a million price increases, probably one per month, every month last year, which is just unreal, unheard of, at least in the 8 years that I've been doing this. We had one go into effect at like the end of December, beginning of January. And I'm sure we're going to get more. We don't have anything that's announced at the moment, but I'm sure that will, sooner than later, we're going to have some of that happening again. I'm sorry. If you want to keep up with that, there is a third-party website that is not affiliated with any major or distributor, seller, anything like that, that just provides the facts on increases and the market, and that is Jobbers World Blog, if you want to Google them. I'm trying to think. There was a couple of new specs that came out with OEMs. The biggest one to make note of is Allison came out with a TES 668 spec for their transmissions, their diesel transmissions. That does replace the 295. So 295 has now been discontinued. We can't even order that product from Shell anymore. You have to just get the 668. And of course, it costs an arm and a leg. That's the main one to note. If I think of any more, if I hear of any more, I will definitely let you guys know what those are. I will get my website updated. I will get back on track here. It has just been a crazy year with everything in the industry. Trying to make ends meet every day and just stay afloat has really taken my time up, and taking care of my customers. So please do not hesitate to reach out if you have any questions about anything. I'm always here. I'm always answering my DMs as I see them. So thanks for sticking around and supporting me. I will have a couple vlogs that I created there from a while ago, but I just never posted them. So I'm going to start posting those out, and we'll get back to business as usual here soon, hopefully. So thanks, guys.